This video covers what makes betrayers finally get it, as well as how to increase intimacy after they do.
Let's get started. May I ask an off-script question here to you guys?
Yeah.
One of the questions, I would say the number one question I get most often, I think if I had some magic way to like write it all down in a spreadsheet, I think it's, what would you say would be the key? And this is almost always coming from women, almost always coming from wives, mothers in relationships who feel more or less as I perceive my wife to have felt in our marriage. How do you get your husband to sort of have the same realizations that you've had? I get this question all of the time, and I don't have a better answer than, the person in power, so to speak, has to hurt as bad as the person lacking it before he or she is willing to make the necessary changes to their lives. It was so true for me. I had to hurt, in my estimation, as she hurt before I was able to truly empathize and feel like the necessary amount of compassion to show up effectively for her, for anyone. And that was my great life lesson, was when she left. And so I'm interested in whether you guys believe there might be an alternative to that idea. Is there something less drastic than we have to leave people? We have to sever our relationships forever? Or do you believe that this notion of like pain reaching a 10 is truly the only accurate? I just don't want to leave anybody with that bleak thought that their only hope might be ending their relationship. But is there an alternative? That perhaps the alternative is they hurt enough within the relationship, but it doesn't have to necessarily end. And Jay, maybe that's your story.
Well, I'll pass it off to the wife on the call.
I think, I think because marriages are being saved, there are alternatives. To your point, it's, when you guys were talking a few minutes ago, I was like, that's hitting rock bottom. That's a 12-step way of putting it. Another way of putting it is what we heard when we went to kind of this experiential weekend type of thing. And what they said there was change doesn't happen until it gets painful enough. And I was like, I thought that was very insightful, very true. And the interesting thing is, only recently I heard a therapist who was like giving a training, and he said, there's a common saying that all of us therapists know, and that is change doesn't happen until it gets painful enough. But pain doesn't have to happen just on his end. When the lady's like, why aren't things changing? I'm like, well, have you put boundaries in place? No. Well, okay, then let's look at why not. And, the common fear is that something's going to happen. Well, we have to be ready to face that potential reality, that potential negative reality. Like, the pain has to get great enough that we're going to risk taking that leap of upsetting somebody, or having him move out, going through a therapeutic separation, having him sleep on the couch, whatever it might be. Even just saying like, let's go get help. That could be a boundary. So if she takes the leap of faith and puts boundaries in place, and those are painful enough for him, then things can change without dissolving the marriage, or even without, having to sleep on the couch. In a perfect world, though, and we've seen some guys like this, because we deal with guys who have, porn addictions, and sometimes they get caught at work. If say they lose their job, or they realize, I own my own business and this is a small community, and if this stuff got out, the kind of stuff I was into, that kind of pain or loss can, kind of scare a guy straight. And we have seen some of them where they're suddenly, just through the consequences of their actions, outside the marriage, loss of job, exposure, that sort of thing, that can scare him straight. And those are actually the guys that they're ready to learn. They're like, yep, I get it. This is dangerous, not just this is dangerous to me. Teach me what I need to know. But in a perfect world, they would come, some of them are like, yeah, I know I'm doing wrong. And every time I do this, every time I neglect my wife, I know I'm doing wrong. They're pretty teachable as well. And at that point, it's okay, you just need to learn, how to do this. You just need to learn the steps to take. And the ones who come to us humbled by life and humbled by their consequences already, that they feel the pain of their actions, or the guys who just have a soft heart and care about people in general, those people are fairly easy to lead through this. So it doesn't always take pain within the marriage.
Right. And I'll give a personal example, which is I was not processing through some stuff that I needed to process through. And after, I don't know, fight number maybe 200 on this particular topic of you need to process through your stuff. She said, okay, if you miss a week, it'll be a certain amount of money. And if you miss another week, it'll be 10 times that amount of money. And if you miss a third week, it'll be 10 times the second amount of money, which means you might as well pack up and go, because that'll be everything,
He was sick one week, and I think he even like early the next week got on it, got back on it. But he didn't miss a week.
And you may see this too, Matt, but a lot of the guys that come to me, their history is such that no one's really held them accountable, and even to like the idea of this toxic enmeshment with family. If my family always gives me a pass and my wife doesn't, well, they're easier to hang out with.
Yeah. One feels like love and one feels not like being loved, even though I don't think that would be accurate.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm currently offering is helping guys with the whole idea of vulnerability and what that looks like. And that's called our deep dive groups. Certain guys don't learn how to be vulnerable. Our world does. Our world does not like encourage us. This is the story in my head of the kid that goes to 7th grade for the first time, and he's in a locker room and he's getting ready to take his first like public shower with a bunch of other guys. And he says, "Hey guys, I'm feeling a little, emotionally vulnerable. I've never showered with guys before. So would it be okay if you like emotionally supported me through this process?" That would be like getting in a tank of sharks and taking a bath with, blood. It's just like,
no chance.
Unimaginable. But guys are exposed to those kind of environments where weakness, vulnerability is always abused. It is never a good thing. And to take that into relationship and try to be vulnerable in relationship is counterintuitive to a certain extent. And it's like, why would I be vulnerable here? I'm not vulnerable anywhere else in life, so it is sort of counterintuitive, and yet it's the only way forward.
I learned, I don't know, maybe a third of the way into our healing that if you want to increase intimacy, because I'm like, Jay was even saying, how do you we need more intimacy here. And he, just emotional intimacy. And so I did research because that's what I do. And the thing I came up with was the quickest way to create intimacy is risk enough to be like completely honest with the hard stuff. The scary stuff is to really show your underbelly. And when you're welcomed after that, when you're empathized with, when you're received well, when you're supported, it's like, oh my gosh, you're not the guys in the shower that are going to beat me up. You're not the shark. You're not a shark kind of a person.
Thanks, everybody. And join us on the next episode when we'll talk about hiding certain things from your partner.
See you then.
Bye.